Guys, this might be a little bit of a rant, so I'm probably gonna let one of my co-hosts answer this first, then I'll answer because when I got this question, I didn't know how to take it, but I'm going to definitely respond to it. This question comes from a Jim Street, and he writes, "Hey Alex, so why was Black Panther so important? I mean, I liked the movie, but I never understood the hype around it." Thank you for your question, Jim. Uh, okay. I'm going to take this question as you genuinely don't know. So you genuinely don't know, and I try not at least to insult people when I answering certain things. So I'm going to take it as you genuinely don't know, and I genuinely do thank you for your question. So here's my thing on this. Actually, you know what, Ian? What are your thoughts about this question before I give my thoughts about this question?
All right. So I'm going to give my personal opinion about this. It's don't take it as fact. This is just me as a black man. Okay. So I love Black Panther. It's not actually my favorite MCU movie of all time, but it is it's a good movie. I do think Killmonger was a great villain. I think the message in it was really good when it comes to the conflict of what should happen when it comes to our past and our present, stuff like that. The reason I think this movie is very important, he's not the first black superhero, obviously. When in cinema, we had Blade, we had Plank Man, we had Meteor Man, But, in the MCU, look at the starting five. All white men and women. I love Thor, I love Iron Man, I love Captain America, but, like, literally have one woman and all the rest white men. And it's cool. I understand we don't want to force anything, but, like, as a black man, I always wanted representation. Seriously, I always wanted it. I always had to, like, we're playing Superman and Batman as kids. Hey, I want to be Batman. Oh, you can't. You're black. You gotta be. I don't know. You gotta be the janitor. I don't know what they wanted me to do. So it sucks sometimes. Like, it's starting to see that level out. And not only has Black Panther always been a cool ass superhero since like the 70s, I believe, but like it's the first time ever in the last 10 years he's getting that limelight. Like I'm in cereal aisles seeing him up there with Iron Man and Captain America. First time I never saw that as a middle schooler or elementary school kid. Nobody was talking about Black Panther. But now I have my son who is 8 years old that could be like, yo, Black Panther he's top tier superhero. He's in that conversation. And that means a lot to me, honestly. You can take it however you want. You might not see through my lens, but I think that's awesome. I really do. And I would like, hopefully we'll get the same thing with Wonder Woman's kind of getting that limelight as well. But like, and I like to see that with Asian and Hispanic superheroes as well. I like to see everybody getting that, Captain Planet looking thing going on with the world, because the world is full of other people of other races and genders and stuff like that. That's just my point of view. And if you're not used to that in your life, like, oh, you're used to seeing the white men on the dollar bill, you're used to seeing white Jesus, you're used to seeing like white, and it's one Hershey kiss comes into your life and it's just like, what's going on here? I can understand that. As a movie goes, it was monumental for Marvel. It was their first like MCU face. All the other ones was like, what, the sidekicks? We had War Machine, we have Falcon. Yeah, that's cool. We'll be the white man's sidekick. Nah, fuck that. Let's for once, let's lead the pack. Let's and I love it. E Bombay.
Bombay. E Bombay is right. Yes. Before I give my opinion, because this is going to be a very long opinion, Jeremy, why do you think that Black Panther is so important? And fun fact, the premiere of Black Panther is where the first time I saw Jeremy and his wife at the theater when I was living in Pensacola. We all saw that movie and we all enjoyed it. But Jeremy, what do you think about why Black Panther is so important to the MCU and just the community in general?
So obviously the big thing about it is something that I can't really like. that's a thing that I will not be able to experience. And I think that's unfortunate in some ways. You know what I mean? And it's something that's so specific to a culture that's not my own. So while I take it for granted, what Ian said is very valid. It's almost like if you're an American, the default American experience is a heterosexual white male. You know what I mean? Just plug it in. And when they talk about America without any sort of participating item, unless they say a black man, you assume it's a white man. And that is kind of privilege. That's a thing that we don't think about a lot because, and from my perspective, because it's just different. Because from my perspective, that's just, it speaks to my personal experience. All of those movies, everything from Revenge of the Nerds to Crow to Ghostbusters, like it all, you know, it had me in mind. So what I learned when Black Panther came out that I thought was like such a powerful message is that like people needed that, dude. That was like $1 billion movie. Like audiences that don't typically turn up to see movies went in solidarity to say like, this shit matters. This is a historic moment and this matters. And everybody was a part of that. And that's super powerful. On another hand, what Ian said is kind of something that I think about, that Marvel does a little bit of posturing, right? Like, you know, Captain Marvel, as important as it is to see a female superhero in a Marvel movie, Wonder Woman had already come out. You know what I mean? And with Black Panther, yes, Wesley Snipes did 3 Blade movies up until 2003. It was 20 years ago that Wesley Snipes was leading black-led superhero movies. So the concept of the black superhero isn't necessarily new, but one of the things about the Black Panther movie is that it spoke specifically to the black experience, right? It wasn't Wesley Snipes in a world of white people. It was black behind the fucking, you know, like the production, like the director, Ryan Coogler, first black director to ever do a superhero movie. So there were a lot of firsts. There were a lot of like groundbreaking things in it. Do I think it was the greatest movie in the world? It doesn't really matter because it wasn't necessarily for me, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of, I think, the big takeaway is that everything can be for everybody. And Ian and Alex have both had to put their self in the shoes of white superheroes all their life. So, like, the least I can do is go and support a Captain Marvel and go and support a Black Panther and, like, let it be what it is, you know? And I think that that's something that everybody can relate to, is a human experience and the hero's journey. And I do feel like, hey, maybe it should have happened earlier, but for what, you know, you can't go back and change things. But yeah, I think it's a really important movie for those reasons.
I appreciate that answer, brother.
Yeah, that was a really dope answer. And I really do appreciate it. This is why I have guys like these on the show, because they understand all aspects of why things like this is perfect. And what Jeremy and Ian said were just amazing. A lot of the things that I'm about to echo now. Now, to answer your question from my perspective, and again, if I came off too aggressive, I do apologize. Because again, I'm just saying that I'm just taking this as that you probably just don't know. But I'm a 27-year-old black man. Growing up, I didn't have black superheroes to look up to. Like Jeremy said, I'm just go by what Jeremy said. Growing up, most of my life, my favorite superhero was Spider-Man. Mind you, we didn't get Miles Morales till 2013. So my favorite superhero was Spider-Man. And the reason why I loved Spider-Man so much as a kid, because I was a nerd. I like comic books. I like science. I like math. I didn't have that many girls around me. I could identify with the fact that Peter was an outsider. But I also could identify with the fact that when Peter was Spider-Man, he was everything he wanted to be because everybody saw him as a cool person. So that's all I had. And I had the X-Men, I had Batman. And when we would do Halloween, you know, and these Halloween parties, I would go as Batman or something because there wasn't, let's be completely real, Walmart was not selling Black Panther costumes, nor were they selling Static Shock costumes or anything of that nature. So at growing up, majority of my superhero livelihood has been a lot of heterosexual white men and women in those roles. Again, I didn't have, the Black Panthers and all that other stuff. Now, when Static Shock first came out, I was late to Static Shock. I was very late to it. I saw it probably in the middle of the very first season of it. And since then, that was the very first time in history for me where I saw a black kid who was like 14, 15, who was the lead of a show, who had really cool superpowers. You can argue whether his villains were whack. And the supporting role was his best friend, who was white. I never saw that in anything before Static Shock. You can make the argument, yes, there were black side characters on the X-Men and the Avengers. Yeah, I get that. But I never saw a black lead person. So when I saw Static Shock, I was like, oh, this is like DC's Spider-Man. Like, I related to him and almost everything. So growing up, when I saw Static, I thought that was the pinnacle for me because that was the first time I saw that. When his show got canceled, I'm not gonna lie, I was bummed because I was like, okay, I can't. There will never be a show like that ever again. And since then, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen another black superhero show where he was the lead and majority of the supporting characters were either white or a different race. Now, granted, there was a Black Panther animated TV show. I knew nothing about that growing up. I knew nothing about that growing up. And again, this is from my experience of I had cable, but I didn't have premium cable like everybody else had. So, granted, everybody else probably saw those types of shows. Jeremy mentioned Blade. Mind you, Blade was an amazing movie. I like the first two. The third one, it's okay. Wesley Snipes was the first black person I saw portray a superhero saying, hey, you can be a hero too. Now, let's put this into context. Yes, he did a lot for our community saying that, hey, black people can be superheroes too. But this man killed vampires. That was it. I mean, and don't get me wrong, it was cool. It was really cool to see, but he killed vampires, and black people didn't rally around the fact that black people weren't renting out theaters to see Blade. That did not happen. So when I found out, now fast forward, and I had a lot of people hit me up and say, hey, well, what about Blank Man? Blank Man's not a superhero. What about that Robert Townsend movie that he was immediately
Up and away. Yeah, I think you're getting that like we were joke characters to them. It's like we weren't taken serious.
Exactly. So we had Up and Away and Meteor Man, and granted, those things did do something for our community, but they were not taken serious. Up and Away right now is on Disney Plus. I watched it about almost a month ago. That is the fakest movie I've ever seen in my whole entire life. You gonna make black people's witnesses aluminum foil? That's all we use to cook. What the hell? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But so this is the reason why Black Panther is so important for us, for all of us. Black Panther, when I first heard that Black Panther was going to be introduced into Civil War to take place of Spider-Man, I heard of Black Panther. I've never read his comic books. From that point on, I started reading his comic books where I learned about Wakanda, where I learned about Wakanda Forever, where I learned about Shuri, Killmonger, and just the area of Africa and how they treated each other, right? 9 times out of 10, when you're watching a black person on a film, it's a negative stereotype. It's a very negative stereotype. Either we in the hood killing each other. It's so negative. So when we saw Black Panther for the very first time in Civil War, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but when I saw, I was like, oh shit, this dude is whooping ass. This was the first time when we saw like Chris Evans' knees crumble. He didn't know how to handle fighting someone of a Black Panther of that stature. That stature. And then when we saw the Black Panther movie, a mutual friend of ours, me and Ian's, Jamal Davis, this brother, me and him were talking about like renting out theaters for our community. Jamal actually went to Panama City and got some people within the Boys and Girls Club black kids to go see this movie. My daughter is 2 years old. This was the first movie that she ever saw with her dad, but this was the first time in her lifetime where she got a black superhero in the 27 years that I have been alive on the big screen. It's vitally important to see our representation. That's why when they announced a Shang-Chi movie, hell yeah, I'm going to go see it, because I never seen an Asian superhero on the big screen that was the lead. You can say Bruce Lee, but Bruce Lee is not a superhero. He's a martial artist.
He's a Superman.
Exactly. You know, we had the Jackie Chans and all that good stuff, but still, we never seen an Asian superhero within a universe. So when Black Panther came out, it was, like I said, at a monumental event. Keep in mind, I want to point this out so everyone can see this. Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, great movies. I don't know how many people, black people or not, rented out theaters to see those movies. I don't know how many people took underprivileged kids from really bad communities just to go see Infinity War and Endgame. We had people like Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z, The Game, 50 Cent, all these different people who worked at McDonald's, renting out theaters for Black Panther. Black Panther is an amazing cultural phenomenon that needed to happen. I pray the same thing happens for Shang-Chi. So when you ask why is it so important, it's important because in our lifetime, we never seen anything like that. Do you realize Black Panther is the first black superhero movie where everybody treated each other the same? We didn't see that much of a hierarchy. We didn't. The men respected the women. The women weren't showing their ass. Like, this was a great depiction of what Black Panther was supposed to be, what black people are supposed to be. That's not to say that you can't do that in any other film. I'm just saying, like, this was the first time where black people were the negative stereotype. And honestly, when you look at the character of Killmonger, I don't consider him a supervillain because I agreed with all the stuff that he was talking about. Although I get the message of why he needed to be stopped. However, Killmonger was like, listen, the only reason why I'm doing this is to liberate the people who don't live in Wakanda. Like that, I understand where he was coming from when he did that. And that's the thing. Like Jeremy said, Black Panther was the first of a lot of things. It's the first black superhero movie in the MCU. It's the first black superhero movie that was directed by a black director. It's the first black superhero movie that actually shook a nation where, hey, the black dollar actually matters. So for me, it's very important. That's why I can't wait to see Black Panther 2. I can't wait to see what they're doing with with Shang-Chi. And I can't wait to see what they're doing with all these other different minority characters. We need this type of thing. Like he said, if you look at the Avengers now, they're starting 5, all white folks. Granted, I love them. I love Iron Man. I love the Hulk. I love all those characters. I grew up watching those characters. However, we didn't get a ethnic movie, a movie like this until 2018. Since the MCU started, from that to 2018 is the first time we got a black-centric ethnic movie. Just think about that. Like, that's very, very, very important. This is the reason why I wear a Black Panther hat. I'm not wearing it now, but I would wear my Black Panther chain. It's a phenomenal thing. But after giving those comments, I would love to hear you guys' thoughts about my comments. So I'm going to start with you, Jeremy. What do you think about everything I just said? I'm sorry about that rant, you guys. Yeah. Got my John Campion on.
Man, you brought up stuff that I didn't really think about. One thing that you brought up that I think is super valid is that Killmonger is he is representative of a feeling that people have had to confront for a really long time. He embodied a lot of the anger and the frustration that comes from being marginalized and kind of pushed off to the side. So he's got this like righteous indignation about him, and you can feel that. You know, like I think anybody that was an audience member can feel that at least on some level. And then the Black Panther, his ideology, T'Challa's is like slightly elevated above that because of the perspective that he's forced to like reconcile. He has to acknowledge the truth and what Eric was saying throughout the movie to get to a place. His I'm Iron Man moment at the end when he realizes like what it means to be Black Panther, and that's like it really is. It's elevated. It has something that it's trying to instill in a younger generation. I think that's super cool, and yeah, man, it's to me it's inspiring just to hear how much it means to other people. That's like, yeah, you're right. With the Wesley Snipes as Blade and all of that stuff, there was something that just awakened within society with that movie. And yeah, it did prove box office and all of that kind of stuff, but it felt like this moment where like I saw like Black folks were going in like African clothes, like audiences were. It was just cool, you know?
Yeah, like that day, the premiere, that was the first time I wore dashiki, and I've never owned a dashiki a day in my life. But it also taught me that our culture is very important if you just study it. And it took me back to my roots of where I am from in Africa. I literally studied where I was from just by getting hyped about a movie, about a fictional place, about a really cool fictional character who was Black. But Ian, what do you think about the comments that I made about why Black Panther is so important?
Well, yeah, we have a lot of the same comments, man. You know, because we are both Black men and fathers. So it is. I'll just echo what you said. It's a great thing to have our children not see the same things that me, you, and Jeremy. You know, and like I said, I love all these superheroes that we mentioned, but like it would have been great if like Batman, Superman, Captain America, whoever was standing next with a Black man. Like, so we could have had a little bit more representation, but these kids nowadays, they don't have to worry about that, and that's something we can praise. No matter your personal opinions about the movie, like I said, it's kind of middle of the road for me when it comes to superhero movies, but like the impact and what it's done for society, I will always praise it, seriously. And I love Black Panther. Thank God for Chadwick Boseman. Thank God for Ryan Coogler. Everybody that was involved. Thank God for Kevin Feige for even giving that a chance, because a lot of studios would have probably been like, I don't know about that. I don't understand, you know. But it, like Jeremy said many times, it's not for me. It's not for, you know, it's there is an audience for that. And sometimes you got to take a step back and understand that you are not the only person living on this planet.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for your question that you gave. But also, I want to clarify something. Although that Black Panther is definitely a more so a Black movie for obviously the Black community and other minorities, I feel that you can use that in movie and you can see everyone of every different types of color in that. For me, Black Panther showed us that it doesn't matter what color you are. You can be a hero and treat each other with decency. The reason why it resonated so much with us is because we've never really seen that on screen growing up. And like Ian said, we're fathers. Our kids right now are getting filled with other things that they don't necessarily relate to. Like prime example, my little girl has braids in her hair. Some kids can't understand why a Black little girl has braids in her hair. It's a cultural thing. I'm sorry, it's just a cultural thing. That's not trying to be racist or anything like that, but that is something in our roots that we normally don't see portrayed on screen very well. So that is the reason why it's so important. And Black Panther, anybody of any race can see it and love it for what it is, and they can definitely understand the impact of it. So thank you for your question. And what do you guys think? Why do you think that Black Panther is so important? Why do you think it made the cultural impact the way it did? Jump into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.